Okay, hair testing. So the hair contains a whole other window of information into the body because unlike the blood, which is constantly changing, it's just like a snapshot of a point in time of what it's going on. Same thing with the urine, it's constantly in flux. The hair is very steady. It's going to show you over months what constitutes what's going on in the body. It's very constant. And what you can do is you can test the hair for mineral levels and especially mineral ratios. Now, I'm not a bona fide expert on hair mineral testing. Okay, you know by now that I will admit if there's limits to my expertise in certain areas, which there are a lot of areas. So, but my understanding is that the ratios themselves can be just as important, if not more important, than the actual levels of a mineral, because minerals exist in a balance in nature and they complement each other. They have synergies, and some minerals require other minerals to be balanced out, to be effectively utilized by the cells. And so that's why the ratios are super important, because the minerals work in tandem. So there are some key ratios that are often tested for in a hair mineral test, and this would be your ratio of calcium to magnesium, calcium to potassium, sodium to magnesium, sodium to potassium, zinc to copper, and calcium to phosphorus. So, this is, I would say, a modality that's both a science and an art. There's a lot of different information out there if you start to look into mineral hair testing, and you can definitely go down some rabbit trails. It's fascinating. The other thing is that it can be counterintuitive. If there really is an issue with a mineral ratio, it can actually be counterintuitive of how that could be balanced out. Because let's look at an example. Now, sometimes things are straightforward, like maybe someone's low in sodium. So maybe they can figure out how to get more sodium in the diet, or magnesium, or supplementing, or so forth. But just eating more of something or supplementing with more of something to try and increase that level is not always the best solution. For example, look at the zinc to copper ratio. Okay, let's say if the zinc to copper ratio, if you want to increase the zinc, then the most straightforward way, you might think, well, I'll just take more zinc. I'll just start taking zinc as a supplement. Or I'll eat foods that have more zinc. But you know what? This could also be an issue because of low vitamin C in the body. Because you see, if you increase more vitamin C, this has a tendency to decrease levels of copper in the body. And so, therefore, you would balance out the zinc-copper ratio from the other end of the equation. In other words, by reducing the amount of copper, by increasing the amount of vitamin C, and that would balance out the zinc-copper ratio. So that's very a counterintuitive way to, again, approach that same situation. Another example would be like somebody that is showing low levels of calcium. Well, they may think, well, I need to consume more calcium. But in fact, they may be consuming adequate levels of calcium, but they're doing acidic things to their body, which is leaching out calcium. It's basically drawing down the calcium levels to balance the acidity, to buffer that acidity with calcium buffering. And so, in other words, somebody may be eating a lot of natural calcium, but they're drinking sodas, or they're eating acidic foods, or they're smoking, they're doing something that's acidifying the body. And so it's not like this person just needs to eat lots more calcium, to increase the calcium levels. They would be better served to stop acidifying the body and stop doing these activities. And so, again, it's a very nuanced area. It's not just going to be like, well, you just need to take more phosphorus or take more magnesium to solve this issue, because it's showing you the end result of the mineral levels. It's not just showing how much is going into the body. It's the end result after everything's getting processed, assimilated, and synergized, and works with everything else in the body. So you could say it's a highly complex modality. It's certainly very fascinating to find out what your levels are and maybe what areas need some help. And there's only a couple labs in the USA which I think also service worldwide. You just have to basically take a small sample of your hair and mail it into them. There's a few labs that have the highest reputation, and I would recommend that. You can get the test done for about $150, and you can get that done at rapidregeneration.com/hair test. Very fascinating.